Hello, good morning. Happy Wednesday, happy snowy Wednesday, and welcome to Ask Wildman. My name is Miles Bassett. I'm the CEO and founder here at Wildman Web Solutions. We're putting this show on every week, originally as a response to COVID. A lot of businesses were forced to go online, and they were coming up with a lot of questions for the first time as to how to leverage technology to really do what they needed to do. So we started this show as an open Q&A for anyone and everyone who had questions about technology, marketing, business, anything else. So if you have any questions, we are here to answer those questions as to the best of our ability. Any questions on any of those subjects or anything else you want to bring up, just throw those questions in the comments below, as we're live streaming to our Facebook page and YouTube channel. Again, we're doing this every week to answer your questions. But if you're catching this later, you're not watching this live, you can still get us your questions by emailing us those questions at askwildman@wildmanweb.com. Got that address showing up right here. I think that says .co. That should be .com. Askwildman@wildmanweb.com. All right. Close enough. All right. So like I said here, if you got any questions,
Miles, I lost your audio. Miles, I don't know if you're trying to talk to me, so I'm gonna log off and log back on, brother, because I cannot hear a word you're saying all of a sudden. Problems, I believe, is that's what's happening. Hopefully, you guys can hear me. I don't know, but until that microphone gets figured out, I guess you got the mic on the mic. Hopefully, my microphone is happening. So uh, I'll just jump right into an update that I had for everybody regarding something we've been talking about the last few weeks at least, and that is the update on Apple, the iOS systems update. And that is now happening. If you're an iPhone user, you maybe already have gotten an alert that your update is ready. And so from 30,000 feet, just a quick review of what's happening here is basically Apple is letting very easily. You'd always been able to do this, but it's being more prominent and more easy for people to opt out of third-party data tracking. And so this is a way that us marketers and advertisers, of course, creepily follow people around the internet basically and reserve them ads. The reason that we do that is because it takes more times than once, usually almost always, in order to make a sale or get somebody to do what you wanted to do. Back in the day, in the traditional marketing and advertising world, there's actually been studies to prove this, that you need between 7 and 9 times to get a message across to somebody before they generally take action on it, and something like making a purchase. And so that was based on the number of ads and the number of messages and brands and everything that we were interacting with, again, like 20, 30 years ago. So obviously that's accelerated a great deal. We may need 3 times that today in order to get the same yes or the same purchase from somebody. So it's a really, really important part of marketing and advertising. It's called remarketing or retargeting. And that's basically going to become a lot less easy to do. It's not completely going away, but it's going to become harder, and it's going to skew a lot of our data if a lot of these people who are on iOS, who are on Apple iPhones, do opt out of third-party tracking. So this has been causing a whole lot of great fear, is probably the best way to put it, throughout the marketing and advertising industry, and certainly for small business owners who are aware of this happening. We've been getting a lot of questions about it because, as you all know, small business owners are extremely dependent on platforms like Facebook for advertising that are going to be adversely affected by this. So last week we gave you one tidbit, and that was to start your email list and really build up your email. And this week our tidbit on is how to go about tackling this upcoming issue is going to be to create a whole lot of video. And we've already been telling you to create a whole lot of video, but the reason that we're going to be able to, even confidently suggest that you should spend more money than you are currently right now, and hopefully you are spending money on video, is because this is going to be one of the avenues that will be left, even for people on Apple and iOS, which is about 30% or a third of the market. We will be able to remarket those people if we are able to use video. So same thing with your email. That's why you want to get your email list built up as big as you can, because that's another way around this, that we can still market those people. We can still use custom audiences and lookalike audiences, but you've got to do it. And so that's the message that I'm bringing you today. You may ask, Mike, why do you give away all these secrets and tidbits that you do for your clients for free on the show? Well, the reason is because we know, unfortunately, that most of you are not going to be able to execute it properly, or you're not going to even attempt to execute it, which is even worse. And so, taking these ideas and actually executing them is what's going to save you, not just knowing this stuff and kind of tinkering with it. You really have to dive in with both feet. And so that's why we're urging you, we're imploring you, put in your budgets this year more video production. You can't get enough of it. And really, really focus on getting more contacts for your email list. You are live, Miles, and I can hear you loud and clear, brother. You sound fantastic, by the way.
Okay, let's see if I can't get visual. Yes.
All right.
How's this?
Well, it's good. It's great.
Awesome. Yeah.
We may need to switch to a different platform, though, than what we're currently using, because this is not the first time that we've had an issue with our platform. We won't mention the platform. We won't throw them under the bus. But if you want to DM us and get our take on which streaming platform to use and which not to use, we might have some hot takes for that in the DMs. So.
Oh my goodness. You were saying something good though, so please don't let me interrupt.
Was I? Yeah, I was basically just giving an update here on the iOS, which is now happening. It's coming down the pipe. And so we'll see. We'll see if the end of the advertising world happens. Some of the fear mongers out there would have you want to believe, but no, that's definitely not what's going to happen. These things happen all the time. These kind of evolutions or disruptions in advertising, or especially in digital advertising. So it's just going to be another thing to overcome. And so I was just giving the people a couple tidbits here. The first one was reminding what we said last week about building up their email list, getting all those contacts. It's going to be extremely useful. And then the second thing, to be able to remarket and retarget people, which is a fundamental thing in marketing and advertising. If you aren't remarketing and retargeting people, you better be selling Corvettes for a nickel. You better have such a sweet offer that it's just a no-brainer. Nobody has to think twice about it. Sure, here's my credit card. Unless you have one of those types of offers, which are very few and far between. Yeah, you're going to have to remarket. You're going to have to retarget people to generate frequency. Again, something we've talked about on the show quite a bit. I'm sure most people are familiar with the term frequency. So I think that's about all I had on that, Miles. Good morning, sir. I haven't even said good. How the heck are you doing, Miles?
Good morning. Yeah, I'm doing good. Minus some fun little technical difficulties there. I guess that's one more tip we can throw out there is make sure you're not on mute.
I've done a lot of stage production in my day, and it's one of the first things I always check when things are going wrong is the mic plugged in? You'd be surprised.
IT Solution 101. Turn it off, turn it back on.
Yeah. Well, you were working fine.
That's a joke.
That was the thing, is you were working fine, and then all of a sudden you were gone, and I had nothing.
Yeah, I don't know.
And I thought audio was out across the board. Otherwise, I would have started talking sooner. So yeah, you want to set up the show? Tell people what the hell we're doing here, or should I just keep?
Well, I think we're good. I think I hopefully got most of that intro out there before going on mute here. But yeah, anyone watching here, I know I can see we've got a couple of people watching live. If you are watching this live, throw your questions in the comments below. We're on Facebook and YouTube, so pick your poison there. Interact with us. If you have some experience dealing with what we're talking about, if you have some questions, we are here for those. So yeah, throw those in the comments. Jeff is already up in there. Good morning, Jeff. And I see we've already got a couple of likes here. So that does help us to reach more people. We're here hopefully as a resource to answer as many questions as possible. So if you think the content we're putting out here is useful in any way, then give us a like, give us a share, help us to reach a broader audience and hopefully answer some more questions and get some more good information out there. I think the only other thing I had here is if you were catching this not live, you're catching this video later, then you can still engage with us. We're doing this every week. So you can email your questions or comments to askwildman@wildmanweb.com, and we will pick those up next week. All right, seeing those likes pouring in. Thanks, everyone. Yeah, so if you got some questions, throw them in there right now. And it
really helps my self-esteem too.
We got to keep Mike happy. We got to keep Mike happy over there.
I definitely have confidence issues. Okay, so we're gonna start getting into questions, or should I start doing some news updates? What are we doing here, Miles? What's the agenda today?
Yeah, so let's start with those news updates while we let the questions come in. Like I said, anyone who has any questions or just wants to chime in on what we're talking about, please throw those in the comments below. But yeah, I know we've got a couple of current events and a couple of updates, so let's just get started with that, and then we'll hit the questions later.
Fantastic. All right. Well, the Chiefs are in the Super Bowl. I guess that's the big news around here. Once again, back-to-back Super Bowl, and I feel like we're going to win. I'm not even worried about it. I think Tom Brady's a punk, and as long as he doesn't cheat, I think we got this wrapped up. So that's the big news. Obviously, the Super Bowl is obviously the biggest advertising day of the year, as well as the biggest sports day of the year. So a couple interesting things, I've seen over the past week since we talked last about Super Bowl ads and all that last week. I've seen, Miles, have you seen a lot of companies bowing out of Super Bowl spending? Budweiser.
Yeah, I did see that. I thought that was an odd trend.
It is a little bit of an odd trend. I think it's great opportunity, though. I mean, I wish I had $6 million to buy a Super Bowl commercial right now. Because a lot of these big marquee brands that usually buy 3 or 4, and usually spend a whole lot of money producing incredible commercials are sitting out this time. So great opportunity. out there for people to gain market voice, which of course is always the first step to gaining your market share. If people don't know about you, they can't do business with you. So that's been a little interesting thing. But
Yeah, I actually thought of you right when I saw that announcement. I think it was Budweiser, the one I was seeing, was immediately thinking of some things that you had been saying here on this show because, um, those ads are huge, and if you can afford them, then they're immensely effective. So it's not like they're not doing anything. If they're pulling out of this highly effective marketing spot, then what are they doing instead? And we've been talking for weeks about bigger and bigger companies coming into play in the digital marketing space and taking up some space that had primarily been smaller organizations, smaller businesses, and making the entire space more competitive. So, if they're not doing Super Bowl marketing, then what are they doing?
Yeah, well, that's a great point, and I'm actually that's going to lead into my next tidbit here about the Super Bowl. So you're right on target. But yeah, I think a lot of them are going to transfer, but $6 million, or probably from Budweiser's case, probably like $24 million to other avenues, including digital media, including social media, for sure. I think that's definitely going to happen. So the interesting thing though about Budweiser in particular is, Miles, you may even be, this may be before your time, but back in the day, Budweiser was. Let me ask you this: do you remember the Bud Bowls?
I do not know.
Okay. Well, anybody, I'd say probably 35 and older that watched the Super Bowl, which is maybe half the country, would remember the Bud Bowls. And they used to have a whole marketing basically skit that happened
Oh my
during the
God.
halftime show of the Super Bowl. And the interesting thing was Budweiser and Bud Light, same company, obviously, they've been running nostalgic ads throughout the playoffs of the NFL and throwing back to some of these 80s and 90s and early 2000s commercial campaigns that they used to run leading up to the Super Bowl. So that's why it was even kind of a weirder 180 degrees. So I don't know, something happened in that boardroom. That's got to be a fun story, but but really, really interesting to see that. And again, just more opportunity out there for other folks. But the more interesting story, I think, that has been emerging around the Super Bowl and advertising has been the Super Bowl's partnership with TikTok. Have you heard about this, Miles?
Oh no. Yes, I
I'm
have heard about this.
I'll put an article
I'm
here
curious to see where this goes.
Yeah, I'll put an article down in the chat here so people can read it. But so the Super Bowl has teamed up with TikTok, and they have a whole pregame. I think it's a 2-hour pregame, basically special happening on TikTok. And the star of the show is Miley Cyrus. So obviously a big A-list entertainer. And the really interesting thing to me is that this is been a trend that the Super Bowl has been relying more and more on social media in order to promote the event, which seems a little, a little funny. Even that tells you a lot right there, that even they're, having to go outside the box to promote an event like the Super Bowl. But so this has been a trend, but now they've really gone, in with both feet, and so notice they didn't ask CBS, their NBC, or I don't even know what network carries the Super Bowl, but they didn't ask their network partners to do this. They didn't ask Facebook to do this. They asked TikTok to do this, right? So I mean, it really says as much about TikTok as it does about the Super Bowl, and where that trend is and where that trend is heading. That they really wanted to dive into that culture, which is quickly becoming, a huge part of popular culture. And so that was really, really interesting trend. And I put that article down in the comment section if anybody wants to get some more details on that. So that's the Super Bowl news that I have for this week. I'm sure we'll get some more exciting stuff happening as we get a little bit closer to the event. And we'll talk about some commercials and advertising campaigns and things like that.
Yeah, we've been off and on mentioning TikTok in the frame of, I guess, an up and coming sort of social media platform, and I think if you happen to be one of the primary tools that an event like the Super Bowl is using to market themselves, then maybe that means that you are not in that category anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally the biggest event on Earth, and has been for at least 50 years or however. I think it's been 50 years almost. I don't know. Jeff, help me out with that. But it's really remarkable. So that's what I got on the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Side note: if you do Google Bud Bowls, then you don't get the old Budweiser thing. You get a bunch of weeds. Turns out.
I hadn't thought about that. Yeah, I guess in 2021 the Bud Bowl might mean something else. Maybe that's why they went away from it. I don't know. Yeah, they may be sending market share to an entire different industry with that branding. I hadn't thought about that. Good call there, Miles. Nice catch. All right. Well, should we talk about my favorite thing in the whole world right now?
I guess we have to, because you've been talking about nothing else all week.
Okay, before we do,
is very interesting. So
actually, before we do that, let's give a shameless plug, because we need some more followers on our TikTok page. And if we get 10 followers today, 10 new followers today, I will make Miles do a TikTok dance, and we will post it on TikTok. So there it is. We have to have 10. Yeah, exactly. I didn't ask because I knew you wouldn't agree to it. So that's what we need. So it's at Wildman. Miles, put up all the social handle. It's our social handle for all of our socials. I know you guys already follow us on all the other social platforms. My God, why wouldn't you? But we just got on TikTok the other day. We haven't even posted anything yet because we've been doing our due diligence. We've been using the old 2 ears, 1 mouth rule, and just listening and watching what's happening on the platform. But behind the scenes, we are creating a lot of content and having some fun with it already. So just kidding about the dancing, though, guys. Okay, let's talk about my favorite thing in the entire world. I'm so excited. Last week we talked about a new app called Clubhouse. I went on a little rant about it, and I put out to the world that I needed a Clubhouse invite. And lo and behold, Anna, one of our amazing associates here at Wildman Web Solutions, we call her the Queen of Content, but she does pretty much everything behind the scenes for us. She hooked it up. I don't know how she did it. I don't know who she had to call or who she had to kill, but she got Miles and I on Clubhouse on Saturday. And I don't know, she might be angling for a raise there, Miles. We might need to look at that. She may be well deserving, but I don't think I've left it other than for meetings since about lunchtime on Saturday. It is by far the most engrossing social media app that I've certainly ever seen. And I'm jumping in with both feet. And you guys may think, well, okay, of course you are. You're a social media nerd, but I'm only a social media nerd for business. Like I don't even have a personal social media account other than MySpace, Facebook.
You have a MySpace?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I did. Yeah, I had No, actually, that's not true. I did not have a personal MySpace account. I had a banned MySpace account, so that's not even true. So the only personal accounts I've ever had are LinkedIn and Facebook. That's it. But I'm on every other social media platform for business reasons, and I'm on there, 18 hours a day usually. So that's part of the reason why I don't, then go on there and post pictures of my dinner all night, because I'm sick of that stuff, But where was I going with this? But this is one that I really, really feel is something that I'll be personally spending a lot of time on. I already am. As myself, the person. So, that to me, it's already shown that this is my favorite social media platform that's ever existed. And I've only been on it since Saturday. So, am I having a little bit of honeymoon syndrome? Probably. Will I probably get sick of it after a while? Probably. Is it going to get ruined eventually by marketing and advertisers and dum-dums? 100%. Every social media, platform does. But for right now, it is amazing. And I'll tell you why. A couple really big things stick out to me. I mean, first of all is just the people who are on there and the access that you have. I mean, you literally have unfettered access to the most powerful people in the world. And, people that you would spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to in order to go to mastermind classes, conferences, et cetera, just to hear them give a keynote. But what's happening in Clubhouse is we have, in-depth conversations that are going on sometimes for hours, sometimes all night long, with billionaires. I mean, I was sitting in one last night. Ty Lopez and JT Fox. I mean, guys that run multiple $billion-dollar, companies. Companies like Radio Shack and Pier 1 Imports and stuff like that, sitting, in a room with, half a dozen other people discussing issues and debating things back and forth. And, that's the kind of stuff that is not happening anywhere else on the planet except for, cocktail parties and back rooms in Silicon Valley. And now, a country bumpkin like me sitting in Kansas is sitting in the room with, Barbara Corcoran and Damon John from Shark Tank. And Gary Vee came in the other night. I was in a couple of rooms with Grant Cardone this morning, learning from him. It's absolutely incredible, the kind of access and the kind of knowledge and the kind of just back and forth that is happening on that platform. So that's the first big thing. I mean, I would happily, spend $30 whatever a day just to have a subscription just to go on this thing.
Hey, can we back up just a little bit here, because we mentioned this. We mentioned Clubhouse a little bit last week.
Okay.
But for anyone just jumping in here on this conversation, what is Clubhouse? Because it has a very unique interface, a very unique model here.
That was the next thing I was going to get to. Yes.
Okay.
So Clubhouse it's a social media app that started out as basically as a way for VCs or venture capitalists to get in touch with emerging tech companies in order to invest with them. That's basically how it started out. It's since emerged from that, and the key feature of it is that it's all audio based. And so that's the second most important thing here, is that it's all audio. We've talked for however long we've been doing this show, Miles, 10 months. About the audio revolution, how audio is the next big thing in the tech space to basically take over and revolutionize our world. And podcasts give a glimmer into this, but the difference between this and podcasting is it's live. It's 100% live, and it's back and forth. And like I said, you can have billionaires sitting there talking to people, and then you can have regular people like me, business people like me, come up and pitch their business or ask for advice or get coaching or whatever from these brilliant masterminds. And the reason it's great that it's all audio is that, and the reason that I'm spending so much time on it is because it's audio, is because it's so much easier to talk than it is to, write things out. The feedback is direct and back and forth more. But the other thing is, just like podcasting, I can listen to this while doing 6-7 other things. I can be cooking dinner. I can be driving to the store. I can be in my inbox emailing with clients. All of this stuff can be going. I can be multitasking. And the thing that I love about the design of the app, Miles, I don't know if you noticed this, is that you can get into the app, you can go into a room, be listening to the audio, hop out of the app, and then hop into any other app on your phone, and you're still listening to the audio in Clubhouse, which is a restriction that most apps don't allow you to do because they don't want you to leave the platform. But with audio, it's different because they can get you to leave the platform. If I leave Twitter, I'm not reading tweets anymore. So why would Twitter want me to leave the platform, right? This is so different because so it's great for busy people because I can't spend a lot of time on Twitter. If I spend a lot of time on Twitter, it's all I'm doing all day. And like I said, usually when I'm on these social media platforms, 98% of the time I'm working on the platform. So I don't even have time to go and read whatever other people are doing on the platform because I'm doing ads and whatever. So this to me is a revolution in the audio space that I think is going to be completely groundbreaking and ground changing for other applications and other things that we'll see coming down the line from it. So that's my complete excited rant about Clubhouse. Miles, tell me what your thoughts are. I know you haven't spent as much time on the platform as I
No one has
have,
spent
but
as much time as you have on this platform. I'm not kidding, guys. Day one, he was up until like 4 in the morning
that's
on
true.
this
That's
thing.
true. I was.
So yeah, I have not spent as much time in this as you have, but I was actually going to touch on that last point there because anyone that knows me here knows that like I have these headphones on just all the time. They're a permanent fixture basically, because while I am working or doing the dishes or doing whatever it is I'm doing, I love listening to podcasts or if someone doesn't have a podcast, it's a YouTube video or something, anything that I can passively take in. I love that I can multitask that way, and continually be learning about something, bring in some new subject. Maybe that's technology related. I'm learning about some new tech, some new language, some new platform. Maybe I'm off in philosophy or something like that, or listening to some lecture. But I can just passively have this experience and engage in content while doing something else. So I love that this is an audio platform. It's something that I can just go in there on my phone, find a room that I find interesting, maybe a name I recognize or something, or I get a ping from my friend that's permanently in this app and let me know that there's an interesting conversation going on. I can hop into that, have it go to my headphones, put my phone in my pocket, and go and do something else while also being in the room with some of the biggest movers and shakers in the world. So it's just an extension of what I love to do anyway, and it does have that live element. There's something different about the energy of listening to a live conversation versus something that's more produced, more edited, more intentionally framed one way or another. I know people listening to this is clearly a very live thing. We started off the entire thing with a major technical challenge and a muted mic and all sorts of fun stuff. So there's some pros and cons on there, but I think there's no replacement for that live experience, and it really does make you feel like you're in the room with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think part of the reason why it's been so, I don't know if relief is the right word, but like welcoming, is because I think we're all starved for these live interactions,
Yes.
since the pandemic hit. And I was actually in a room the other night and they were talking about, Clubhouse's effect and how this would basically be used as a blueprint for virtual events, in the future. And, I don't think it's going to replace, nothing can replace being in the same room with somebody. But this is as close as you can get, and if you've ever been to a really great industry conference, whatever industry you're in, and you go into these different panels, breakout rooms and things like that, where all the experts are up there and they're taking questions from the audience and they're discussing things back and forth. It's a lot like that, but 365 days a year, 24 hours a day, across tons of different industries, and this has only been happening, things only been in existence for like 6 months, so it's just kind of getting started, and off the rails here. Most of these rooms only have a couple hundred people in them, so it's still a relatively very small thing. I'm anxious and kind of nervous of how it's going to evolve and grow as they let more people into it. Right now the whole app is still in beta test. This is actually just a beta test, believe it or not. And they're going around trying to get investors for a round, to take it to kind of the 1.0 level. And like I said, at some point it's going to be ruined. Every social media platform does unfortunately get ruined eventually. But for the foreseeable future, I think it's amazing. And certainly, a competitor, an up and coming, as an emerging market competitor, as we've talked about many times on the show, that we want to see and happen in this space in order to compete with the big tech conglomerates out there.
And we talked about the fact that it's audio only. That's obviously something that sets it apart. But there's another trend that it's following where it's not the only one. I've seen a couple of other, I don't know if I'd say up and coming, smaller, newer social media platforms arising with a similar idea of making these smaller rooms, smaller communities, kind of like the idea of like a Facebook group or something, where either you're invited to be part of a group or you just join this small group. You're not seeing everything from all of your friends
Right.
posting from group to group to group. You can go into these little rooms, into these little communities, into these little groups, and only engage with a particular group of people with particular interests. I don't know if that's I don't know what that trend means, but I've definitely seen that come up in a couple of different new platforms, enough to make me think about it and wonder if that's going to be a new direction where social platforms are going.
Yeah, I
From
think
like
that's a
grouping
great.
people rather than just throwing everyone into one massive pool.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Miles, and we should probably explain, how this works on Clubhouse. Is you can only see, basically there's different rooms, and you can jump in the room, and that's where the discussions happen, and there's moderators in each room, and those are the people who decide who can come up and talk from the audience, et cetera, and they kind of, just what you think, moderate the discussions. And so you can only see rooms that are active of people that you follow, moderators that you follow. So it really encourages people, even like powerful people who, I've seen people who on other platforms, they have like 1 million followers and they follow zero. But on Clubhouse, they're following a lot of people because that's how you get access to where the different discussions are happening. And then each room or, can kind of create a theme, and those can become clubs or houses, and you can become a member, you can follow those houses, and then people will schedule, events and discussions and things like that happen in the houses. And so you only get access to the people that you're following and what they're doing, basically. So it encourages you to really, network and expand and follow people. And I've seen, it's everything from advice. Night, and they put people on the hot seat, and people get to come up and pitch. I mean, it's like the real Shark Tank. It's like, the unedited Shark Tank where entrepreneurs come up, they give their pitch, and then they just get lambasted and roasted 9 times out of 10. I've seen some deals get made, but you'd be surprised how many people don't even know their numbers, and they're coming up there asking for like $250,000. It's like, holy shit.
I wouldn't be surprised at all. I've talked business with people. No one knows what they're talking about.
We live this every day. But so it's educational, informative, and entertainment. It has, the three pillars of value, all wrapped up in it already. And there's just no, bullshit or fluff, at least at this point. Like I said, that's going to change, I'm sure. But it's a really, really valuable tool, especially if you have any, if you have any inclination, which I don't know if you're watching the show, if you don't, about growing businesses, about marketing, about advertising, about being a better leader, a better manager, a better business owner. If you want coaching, all those kinds of things. Like I said, you can go on this app and get it for free, investing the time to network and learn from these people. Or you can spend $10,000 a year flying around the country doing masterminds and workshops and conferences. But I think I'm going to go with the former.
It may also be worth noting that it's not all business and Shark Tank and everything in there. There's other interest groups as well. I mean, you can hop into different lifestyle groups or health groups.
A lot of health and wellness advocates. Yeah. Like music, people.
Absolutely. So, and if you do have an interest, especially if you have an expertise, then, there's a possibility you can hop in there and there isn't anything for you yet, but, it's new. So that's the space for you to make something. Maybe you can make your own group in there and you're all of a sudden the influencer. See, we kind of touched on a couple of things there, but one of those was podcasting, the audio revolution. I know several of you out there have taken our advice and started podcasting, started putting out some content and creating content in the medium that you're most comfortable with, whether that's video or live video or audio or blogging or whatever it is you want to do. But we did actually get a question over here specifically on podcasting. Any tips on building podcast audience? I do think that it's an interesting question, just because podcasting is something, it's a little bit different in marketing when it comes to other elements of content creation. It's not something that people really stumble into until you reach some sort of critical mass where iTunes and Spotify are recommending you to people. But if you're new and you're starting out, no one is just going to stumble on your podcast. There's no inbound. So everything has to be outbound. So the only way that you can start getting listeners is by going up to the mountaintop and screaming about your new podcast, letting people know that you are there, you exist, and you're putting the show out there. So that can be talking to, I think probably the highest conversion thing you can do there is finding particular interest groups. So if you're in a Facebook group that is filled with people that are interested in the topic on which you're speaking in your podcast, then those people are probably going to be the most interested and the most likely to give you a shot and potentially listen to your new show. Outside of that, posting on your social media, tweeting out there, trying to latch on to a couple of hashtags, whatever you can do to get more visibility. And I'd say make one piece of nice content about your podcast. It's not your podcast, a nice piece of content about your podcast. So that could be a quick little 30-second video. That could be a cool graphic that just very, very quickly and briefly kind of captures attention and explains what your show is, and then just put that out everywhere as much as you possibly can. It is difficult. It is difficult to start building an audience that way. The upside there, the upswing is that once you get it going, it tends to snowball. It's one of those things where, once you get to a certain level and people are listening to your podcast, then they'll start sharing it with people. You get that word of mouth style advertising, and you're just more likely to grow the bigger you are. So a little bit of hustle there up front, get that audience building, and then it should take it from there. Mike, did you have anything to add on that?
Yeah, just a couple quick things. First of all, I agree with all of that. And the question was, any tips or tricks on how to build a podcast audience? I think one of the quickest hacks, and honestly, one of the easiest ways to produce a content consistently is to invite guests onto your show. And obviously, you want to try to get guests with as big as following as you can. But when you're first starting out, that's extremely difficult to do. So just get guests. But basically what the guest is going to do is they're going to tell everybody in their sphere of influence that they're on your podcast, and so that's going to, easily and affordably get your just branding and your name out there. People are going to be aware of your podcast when you do that. But then of course, you're going to have to deliver. And that's the other part of this is, people, there's so much supply out there that, a lot of people will visit a podcast one or two times, and they'll tune in, they'll listen a little bit. But, the trick is, of course, to build that audience consistently is to get them to subscribe to your podcast. And so that's really what we're going for. And so that means you just have to deliver really, really solid content, and you have to reverse engineer what the audience wants to hear about. And unfortunately, it's not ourselves, which is usually the first thing that people want to talk about. And I had this experience just the other day where somebody that I follow on social media that has a big social media following put a plug out. Hey, I'm guesting on this podcast. I'd never heard of this podcast or never heard of this show before. Was interested in the content. Was interested in the host. So I clicked on it. Right, I give them a shot, and they literally spent, I don't know, I maybe gave it 3 minutes. They literally spent the first 3 minutes just talking ridiculous nonsense about themselves, and just, it wasn't even grandiose. I mean, it was just mundane stuff about themselves. It wasn't even about their guest or the topic or the show or anything. And I was just like, wow, you lost me. So, I mean, that's the really key to getting sticky content, if you will. And so people can be a subscriber. But, other than that, being consistent, a lot of the biggest podcasting shows out there will either publish every day, or they'll have a certain day every week that their podcast comes out. So their audience knows and expects that, and it's almost like appointment television, back in the day, where, hey, 3:00 on Thursday afternoon, that's when the podcast comes out. So they're anticipating it. And that builds up some anticipation builds demand. So those would be a couple things to add on to what Miles said.
And you did hit one good point there I wanted to expand on a little bit. I think it kind of started out in maybe early podcasting. You'd make an episode 0 that is just a little bit about your about your show, about your podcast, and it was kind of assumed that would be the first thing that someone listened to. If they were interested in your show, they would go to your show page, and then they'd go to show 0 to learn what you're about. And that's not really how it works. That's not how it ended up working. People don't really do that. So the first time that they're listening to you, it could be just any show. Any show could be the first impression that someone has of your podcast. So obviously you can't put out 100% all the time. Not every single second of every show is going to be your best work ever, but you've got to try to, at least in the very beginning of every show, really make it awesome, because otherwise you get that experience that you had, Mike. They were probably talking about stuff personally because they thought that they were talking to a loyal audience that had been listening to them for a long time and would be interested in these kinds of, personal life updates. I know I listen to some shows, and I'm a long-time listener of those shows, and I like to hear those personal updates. It feels like I'm closer connected to them.
No, you're right. You're right about that. This was not the case. This guy had no following. Nobody cared.
Okay, well, I'm making,
and he blew it.
Well, this is for not that guy then. Regardless, you have to treat every show as if it could be the first thing that someone's hearing of you, because it probably is, especially in your opening.
Mm-hmm.
So that you don't have that kind of situation. I mean, Mike gives you 3 minutes, and there better be something worthwhile in those first 3 minutes of every single episode.
Right. And it's not like you can't talk about yourself. I mean, I went on a 10-minute rant just a minute ago about my love for Clubhouse. But I also opened up the show with a rant that all it did was give value and like tactical action steps that people can take to basically do what I do, for money, to not give me money and do it themselves. So I gave away free advice at first, and then I talked about myself like 30 minutes later. So you have to position this stuff accordingly. And always lead with giving, and that's how people are going to want to be a part of your audience.
Awesome. Well, good question, Jeff. If anyone else out there wants us to talk on a different subject, or if you got some questions or anything, please follow Jeff's example here and throw your questions in the comments below. Or if you're catching this later, you're not catching us live, then email your questions to askwildman@wildmanweb.com, and we'll get to you next week, because we're doing this every week, Wednesdays at 11. The obligatory functional plug there.
Yeah, let's actually, but while we got a quick break here, I know we got to squeeze in a couple more questions here before we got to go. But also, let's remind people, we have a website giveaway happening out there. And we are going to close that next Tuesday at midnight, and then we're going to announce the winner randomly on the show. We're just going to randomly pick a winner, and so it's going to be exciting. And please spread the message. We wish we could help more than one business. We're going to be able to help more than one business with the website, but just a little tidbit between you and I. Don't tell everybody. It's between the front and the back door. But every single business that enters this website contest is going to get a free gift from Wildman Web Solutions. Shh, they don't know that yet. They just think they're in it for the website. But even if you don't win that, we're not going to let you go away home empty-handed. So, Miles, you want to put up the link to that? Oh my goodness, it's already on the page. See, I can't see everything. That's why I have to look at my other monitor sometimes. Miles is always at least one step ahead of me. Today, you might be two. But you just click that link. You can nominate yourself. You can nominate your own business, or you can nominate a business that you love that you think is deserving. So that's exciting stuff. Let's answer some more questions, Miles.
Alrighty, yeah, I've got that link up here on the screen. I'll be putting it in the comments here below, and you can actually click on it here. All right, so we've gotten a couple of questions over this last week regarding website performance and how it impacts search results and things like that. So I just wanted to touch on it a little bit. one of the biggest factors that impacts your organic ranking and how people are going to find you in search is your website's performance. And by performance, I mean, load time, and the overall UI, the user interface. When people go there, it's got to flow, it's got to make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Google is looking at that. Other other additions to the Google Analytic, or to the algorithm that just came out this last year, are going to be looking at prioritizing user interface more and more. So make sure that your website is fast, it performs well, and it looks good, it works well. That's going to be one of the biggest factors in there, but it's not everything. Content is really important. It's one thing that I think people they look over for some reason. They say, I don't know how to get my website to rank. I don't know how to do search engine optimization. I really want to show up for, keyword X, Y, and Z. And then I go to their website and those keywords are nowhere on their website. That's got to be step one. So go to your website, look through it, look at the actual content, look at what the headings are, because search engines are going to look at that. They're going to look at the headings, assuming that that's the most important thing, or that's what these sections are about. Make sure that your keywords are there. The closer to the top, the bigger the font, the more prominent that keyword is, the better, and the more likely that you're going to rank for those keywords. So make sure your website runs fast. Don't bulk it up with a bunch of unnecessary videos and high def pictures and everything. Just do what you need to do to make it look good. And then, look over your content, think about your keywords, what they really should be, maybe do a little bit of research and figure out what people are searching for in your industry, and then put those all over your website. It's a nice, easy win for everyone. And then I also want to talk a little bit about listings. We put out a post yesterday about this, so if you want to go on our page and check this out, I think that was yesterday, put up a nice post with a graphic there talking about doing a listings audit. Because this is another big, easy win that surprisingly no one is doing, and it can impact your search score immensely. So first of all, when I talk about listings, I'm talking about your business listing. That means your address, your website, your phone number. This is all information about your business and how people can get in contact with you. You've got to have that information out there across the net, and it's got to be accurate. So our post was talking about doing a listings audit, and that's just to use a tool. We have a tool here at Wildman, but there's tools everywhere to do this kind of listing audit, figure out what sites and what directories and map services and apps have information about your business. And is it accurate? Is it missing? A lot of them will just have an address and they don't have a phone number, or they have a phone number and they don't have your website, or maybe they have something old. So if you haven't ever done a listing audit, you should absolutely do that. If something's changed recently, you've changed your address, you've got a new phone number, business name change or something like that, that's a great time to do a listing audit. Or if you're a new business, that's probably the other time you really be looking for this. If you're just starting a business, you got to make sure you get this stuff out there. So use one of those listing tools. We have a listing tool in our toolkit. It's free for anyone who wants to sign up here at wildmanweb.com/LBOT. Or use another listing tool. I don't care, but do that audit. Understand what information the internet as a whole has about you, where it's wrong, what's missing. Because nothing's more frustrating than looking for a business, trying to find a way to contact them, and either not being able to find the information or finding the wrong information. You're trying to call your vet and you get some burger joint in a different city. That's not the experience that you want, and there's no quicker way than to drive away people than to give them wrong information.
100%, Miles. And
yeah, I'll just put in one more thing here. If you want to learn more about this stuff and just get a brief overview as to what listings are and how to do a listing audit, and how to look for these things, then we've got a post on our website. In our blog. We actually referenced it in the post I was talking about yesterday, but I'll link that in the comments below as well.
Yeah, it always blows my mind, Miles, how much business owners are unaware of how screwed up their listings are. And basically, I mean, the reason why this is so important is because people who are trying to do business with you, they're literally trying to find you to do business with you, and they're being sent somewhere else and they're not getting to you. That's a big deal, you know. But the reason that you don't hear business owners crying about it all the time is because they're unaware that's even a problem in their business, and they're unaware of how many leads, how many sales are actually bleeding by having incorrect listings. And the other, amazing thing that blows my mind is how cheap and easy and quick this is, that you can fix something like this compared to many other problems that we encounter. So there's really no excuse out there. I mean, even the smallest business, if you have a business, if you have just have a website, you need to be looking at your listings. And the thing that was on that post yesterday, which I'll let Miles rattle off because I probably missed one, was just alerting you to when there's certain times you absolutely have to check your listings. If you move, if your telephone changes, if your email address changes, you get a new website, anything like that, your domain changes, you have to check your listings and make sure that everything's not screwed up. We can do it for you for free at Wildman Web. Anytime, just send us a message. Happy to do it, but it is a big effing deal.
Yeah, if anything's changed, if you've moved, new phone number, whatever, if you're a new business, or if you just haven't done something in a while, a lot of these listing provider and data providers out there, they're trying to help, and so they update things. They update their database with the most what they think is the right information, but sometimes they catch the wrong thing. Maybe there's another business out there with a similar name, and they think that that's you, or they have some sort of bot out there crawling around and grabbing information, and it just does a stupid wrong thing, and you never know, and then you have the wrong information being pushed out there. And all of those different services, they lean on each other and rely on one another in order to get that data. And so as soon as one of them is wrong, that starts spreading like a virus. And before you know it, half the internet thinks that you are that your address is wrong, or that your phone number is wrong, or your website is wrong. And you wonder why you're getting less results, why you're getting less business, why people aren't finding you as easily. And it's just because one listing provider got your information wrong. So yeah, it's a quick, easy win. Anyone can do it. Everyone should do it. Go do it. All right. If we have any other questions here, throw them in quick because we're going to be wrapping up here as we're coming up on the hour mark. See, Mike, any closing thoughts while we let any last minute comments flow in here?
I got a closing thought, Miles. I got to get something off my chest here.
I figured that might be the case.
So I haven't gone on enough rants yet this morning, have I? Okay, can we talk about? We only got a couple minutes left, so I'm gonna keep this quick. Maybe we'll pick this back up next week. If anybody has any questions on it, please send it to us. Would love to answer some direct questions about this. But let's talk about messaging real quick. From a small business owner's perspective, we've talked about the idea of the small business person's disease, that you end up trying to read a label on the inside of the bottle, and it's impossible to do, right? It's not possible, but it's very difficult to do. And basically, you don't see your business from the outside perspective. And so this is the thing that I would challenge everybody out there, whether you just work in a business or you're actually the business owner, is before you put out another post, before you put out another piece of content, think about the why factor more than the what factor, and really focus on what does my end consumer, my client, my customer want to hear? What do they want to know about? How do they want to be informed? How do they want to be entertained? And then really put that in the perspective of why. And I'll explain why this is so important in a minute. But I'm not telling you that what is irrelevant, but my God, I almost had a heart attack yesterday just scrolling through Instagram and just seeing business after business after business just post a what message that could be easily followed by, well, duh, or I'd hope so. Okay. And I'm trying to pick a category right now that I didn't see, so somebody doesn't think I'm talking about some local business and trashing them, because I'm not going to do that. But I'm going to try to give you an example. Okay, so if I'm an auto repair shop, okay, then the vast majority of my messaging just shouldn't be, hey, I fix cars. I can fix your muffler. I can fix your tire, right? If I'm on your website, if I follow you on social media, I have a pretty gosh darn good idea of what it is you do. The thing that you need to be constantly telling me and explaining to me is why. Why do I need these services and why do I need them from you more specifically? You know, what is the differentiating point that you are selling that makes a difference from what everybody else is doing? And I'll give you a hint. It's not that you've been in business for 40 years and you're family owned. Stop saying that. Nobody cares. Think about what the end value that you're bringing to the customer is. Okay? They want to know what's in it for them. That is what they want to know. I'm not saying that you can't have pictures of your family. You can't put that somewhere on your website or somewhere in your messaging. But my God, 90% of businesses out there, that's what they're leading with. Is I exist. That's it. I exist. Well, congratulations. So does all of your competitors. And the thing that we have to understand, especially, here in Lawrence, is that we're not just competing with Lawrence anymore. We're competing with the entire world virtually. And I can't tell you how easy it is to get in my truck and drive to Johnson County or drive to Kansas City, Missouri, or drive the hell wherever and do business with somebody that's not you. So stop saying that you're the only one in town who does this because it's completely irrelevant. I can drive 30 minutes away and I can get your service. Tell me why you're better than that. Tell me why I shouldn't drive 30 minutes away. If you're a doctor, don't tell me you're the only one who does this specialty in Lawrence. Tell me why you're the best at this specialty and why I should stay in Lawrence and why I shouldn't go and have a medical meeting with the specialty in Las Vegas. That's the kind of messaging and that's the kind of thing that we need to flip the script on, and we need to reverse engineer, and we need to stop just taking the lowest common denominator of, hey, I exist, and then listing off what we do again and again and again and again. Stop it. Please. I'm begging you. My heart can't take it. That's my plea to the people, Miles.
Gotta have the why. That is very important. We were talking yesterday, and I think we were working on some content, building out a landing page for some clients, and I had just written in the wireframe that I was sketching out just why, big words, why. This section right here has to be the why. We've got to take the information that we know, the what. This is what this business is. This is what they do, and flip it around into, why do I need this in the first place? Why should I get that service from this particular person when there's plenty of other options out there? Part of that was about education. Part of that was going into other qualifications and explaining not only that we do this, but hey, we're better at this, we're amazing at this, and here's our proof of it. Here's the evidence that we're awesome at this thing, rather than just saying we provide this service. We're now following that up with a why. So it's not that the what is nowhere in the conversation or anything, or that those points aren't valid in their own respects. To say that you are family owned, or we've been here for 40 years, whatever. That has its time and place and everything, but it's got to be backed up and supported by the why. Because as a standalone point, it's meaningless.
Yep. All right. Well, I feel better. I got that off my chest. Thank you.
Thank you. No, your answers are usually valuable in there. So I'll just close this with a couple of other resources that we put out there. So we do this show as a resource. Hopefully we're answering some questions, putting out some valuable information. So please give us a like, a share, help us to reach a broader audience, answer some more questions. That is, if you think what we're doing here is useful, then help us to be more of a resource. But we do a lot of other things to be a resource to our community and to small businesses at large. I already referenced a post that we had on our blog, but there's a lot of other articles there at wildmanweb.com/blog. None of them are overly intimidating or overly technical or anything. They're all kind of shallow dives, but we do try to cite all of our sources there and link everything. So if you want to take a deeper dive into something, you can go off and learn more about everything that we're putting up there. So if you want to learn about, listings or SEO or marketing or messaging, go over there, check it out. Grab an article that interests you and start your educational journey. You'll also notice on that page there is an email sign up button because we are doing a newsletter. We're just sending that out to a select group of people that have opted into something like this. And there's a lot of value in there. That's where we make these announcements like our website giveaway. And then we also have references to our articles there and some very exclusive data and information that doesn't exist anywhere else. So if you're interested in that, go ahead and sign up for the email. I also mentioned the toolkit earlier, free tools, including one for a listing audit. There's also stuff to help you with social media and reviews and all that kind of stuff. So it's free. Just go to wildmanweb.com/LBOT and sign up there. And then one more hit on our giveaway here. This is a free website. We're giving away to one local small business here in the Lawrence area. Immensely valuable for businesses nowadays. We want to give you a jump start into 2021. This can get you ready for online ordering. This could get you ready for e-commerce or just getting your business out there. So just untold value to a small business here, and we really want to help someone out. So either sign up there, or you can nominate someone. If you know a local small business that could really use the help, please go to wildmanweb.com/giveaway and put in their information here. We'll be drawing totally random winner next week live on this show. I'll have to get a hat or something to pull everything out of. So that'll be next week, Wednesday at 11. And then I think that's it for the show today. Mike, thank you.
That's all I got.
All the
My pleasure, Miles. Yeah, I'm done for a little bit, but glad we were able to get that out. It was very very healing, I feel like. So hopefully some people will heed the advice. But who knows? It's out there, right? You got to execute. Appreciate everybody listening and have a great week. I'm out.
All right. Thanks everyone for watching, and catch us again next week, Wednesday at 11. We'll pick up that conversation again, answer your questions. And if you are catching this, again, not live, you're catching this video later, you can still get in on the conversation. Email us your questions to askwildman@wildmanweb.com. Otherwise, we'll see you next week.